Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central. This beautiful Tuesday morning, reaching you live from the beautiful city of Lagos, the state of aquatic splendor, the center of excellence. I am Benga Aporowa.
There's something you want to say.
Introduce yourself first. Why are you so rude? Let the viewers know who you are.
Okay. Good morning, viewers. Thank you for joining us from wherever in the world you're watching. For the next 3 hours, we'll be within the country looking at some of the biggest political revelations, announcements in the past 24 hours. There's a possibility, not confirmed. There are people who are starting to make speculations. There seem a lot more stronger impressions about possibility of former President Goodluck Jonathan running for president, even though he has not confirmed. But the presidency has already responded even before he has announced.
They're responding to a rumor.
In case, you want to try
Just in case.
In case you want to dare it.
Okay.
We are here for you.
I don't want to go there.
Back to
what I wanted to say. So, you know our Breakfast Central promo, the montage, not promo. Just before we start, there's this, it gives me fear of missing out. I mean, that akamu-like substance with milk. I'm so hungry this morning. I don't know. Do you eat breakfast before you come to work?
No, I never do.
Wow.
Let me not say never do. I hardly ever.
3 hours. Wow.
Because I leave the house at 5 o'clock.
It'll be too early for you to eat.
5 o'clock, 5:30.
Oh, you're a superwoman.
It's too early. That's why I wore this cape now.
Okay.
Superwoman.
I'll make you my woman crush Wednesday.
Thank you,
thank you.
Thank you so much.
I really wish our producers can. I mean, if they can show the world that Akamo-like substance, then they can give us the one in the montage. Yeah, the one in the montage.
Oh, dear Lord.
I'm craving it.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. Do you know what food item that is?
Akamu is from corn now.
No, the exact one. Is it akamu or oats?
I don't know. I can't even remember what it looks like.
Okay.
Because when we're counting down the minutes to the show.
Tomorrow I'll show you.
Okay, I'll look out for it tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, today is day 2 of Hotel Expo Nigeria. Of course, Joe Hansen is on standby. He'll be back with us tomorrow. He's not here because it's day 2 of the biggest Hotel Expo tourism event in the continent. And we will be joining him today. So if you'd like to meet up with us, meet up with Joe Hansen, and get engaging conversations, insightful panel sessions, Hotel Expo Nigeria is the place to be. Landmark this morning from 10 a.m.
Yeah.
That's 10 a.m. after Breakfast Central. So
if you want to meet up with Olive and I, if you want to take selfies,
we sign autographs.
If you want to take autographs, now I'm saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. Away from that very good news, I think we should start from bad news so that we don't end on a really sour spot.
Very true.
Yesterday, news reaching us was that a TV presenter, a lawyer, a pageant queen, Somto Maduagu, unfortunately was killed in her apartment. She was a TV presenter with Arise News, and this was one of the most heartbreaking stories that we saw on the internet yesterday. She seemed so full of life as people began to share videos of her. You know, and Somto Chukwu Maduagu was a 29-year-old girl. She was born on the 29th of September 2025, and she was killed during an armed robbery at her residence in Katampe, Abuja. She worked as news anchor, reporter, and producer at Arise News and Arise TV. But like I did mention earlier, from this picture, you can see that beyond journalism, she was a lawyer. Arise News did put out a statement yesterday announcing this, saying it is with heavy hearts that the management and staff of the Arise News channel announced the passing of our beloved colleague, news anchor, reporter, and producer, Somto Chukwu Christelle Maduagu. Somi tragically passed away in the early hours of Monday, September 29th, 2025, following an armed robbery incident in a residence in the Katampe area of Abuja that is being investigated by the Nigerian police. Somi, 29, was not only a cherished member of the Arise family, but also a vibrant voice that engaged and connected with our viewers. Beyond the airways, she was a lawyer, a professional, supportive colleague, and a friend to many. We extend our deepest condolences to Somi's parents, siblings, extended family, friends, and loved ones at this difficult time. Somi's voice is now silent, but her spirit, passion, and legacy will endure as part of our collective memory. We remain in shock and call for a speedy investigation, apprehension, and prosecution of the culprits. So yes, that's the press release that Arise News put out, and we also here at News Central TV extend our condolences to the Arise TV family for this very grave loss. It's a really
very grave loss,
sad story. And many issues come to mind.
Worst of circumstances.
Worst of circumstances, unimaginable. You will think that the seat of power, the FCT, Abuja, should be the safest place. A place that, you know, is our seat of power, where you should feel safe. Of course, everywhere should feel safe. But of all places for this to happen, not just in Abuja and then in her home. If you cannot feel safe in your home, where else can you feel safe as a Nigerian?
I mean, if it's really, there's so many questions that are begging for answers, and I really hope the Nigerian police will start the investigation and get to the end of this. You wonder why someone would be sleeping in their house and then get attacked by robbers, and then it ends up in a murder case. It's terrible, and you should have some level of protection from the state. This is, I really don't have the words to quantify how I feel right now, but I mean, the only thing I can say is my thoughts and prayers go out to
really, that's really what it is. But beyond thoughts and prayers, we're calling on the authorities to carry out investigations, and that this doesn't just end up being one of the stories where there's a public outcry, everybody complains. Again, the public outcry has shown the general frustration by Nigerians, a lot of Nigerians feeling dissatisfied and sad at the rising spate of insecurity, where many would disagree. You know, maybe I wouldn't call it rising spate of insecurity, but about the fact that we're still dealing with insecurity challenges. And Somto did not deserve to die, and certainly did not deserve to die in that manner. She was a leading political voice. You know, I've seen a number of people share personal stories about her. Her colleagues at the SPPG, she was an alumna of the School of Politics and Public Governance. And, you know, her colleagues, I'd seen a message from Princess Agumbiade, all of them sharing their voices and their pain. She's a human, she's alive, a friend to many, and a voice that stood up in a world where we don't have a lot of females in that generation. So me not just represented, you know, what is possible today, but what the future of Nigeria's political and journalistic space looked like, especially for women. And it's really sad that at the prime of her life, she's been cut off, not given a chance to be able to blossom into what the future had for her and to be able to make the mark that she ought to have. She has done great so far, but there was so much that lay ahead of her, and she certainly did not deserve to die like that. We call on the authorities to carry out a proper investigation, and that the perpetrators of this act be brought to book. We do not want this just be one of those matters that is swept under the carpet and then we never hear about it.
And that's the only way to honor our memory, basically. The authorities need to step on the situation and do something about and find out those who are responsible for this gruesome murder. And
they're two not really directly connected cases, but I'm going to again bring up the murder of Christian Idowu. We spoke about it yesterday. Christian Idowu was a 300 level law student. I don't know, was it law? But she was a 300 level student in FUNAB. Yesterday we took the story. Her father has said 1 year later, even though they found the victim who confessed, the perpetrator who confessed to the crime, who was the one that strangled her, attempted to molest her, you know, he attempted to molest her and killed her. He was arrested, but nothing has been heard of him. He's not been updated in the case. Again, we're using this medium to talk about the fact that we can't keep having these murders. We can't keep having these women losing their lives without these matters being investigated to the very end. So we're calling on law enforcement agents to also please let us know what the situation is regarding Christian Idowu's case. The perpetrator of that act does not, he can't just be languishing in jail. Her father, watching that video yesterday was one of the most heartbreaking things I had seen when he was talking about how everyone's just gone silent and he doesn't know what has happened. The only way to honor the memory of a person whose life was cut short is one, to ensure that they get justice. Although the justice will never be complete, because like I say,
you can't bring
back the dead. Yeah. Justice that cannot bring back the dead isn't justice. So, but doing all that we can
to allow them get some sort of closure and healing.
And then ensure that that doesn't happen to another person again. You know, use that as an opportunity to say we have to step up. And it's really sad. Our condolences to the entire family.
Okay, now let's move on to our first wake-up conversation. I mean, it's also on a sad note because nobody wants to wake up and lose their house, something you've built with your sweat after years of hard work. But let's take a listen to this video, and then we'll let it tell the story, and then we'll be back to analyze.
At this my age, multi-lady 70. So, anything can happen after 70. So, the motor first law. Isha will move to call labor. So, ẹ̀bá wa gba ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn rò dáadáa. Kẹ́gbà pé ohun tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ẹ̀yin gangan ló ṣẹlẹ̀ sí. Wọ́n lè ní àgbàtàn àgbà ọ̀lẹ. So, àwa bẹ̀ yín ni ìjọba fẹ́ sanwó wọn fẹ́ ṣe kìíní. Ohun tó bá máa fún wa kan rí i pé ó dáa because àwa náà la dìbò fún àwọn tó wà bẹ́ẹ̀. Tinubu àwọn la dìbò fún wọn and àwọn ẹ̀yin lè rán àwa níṣẹ́ tá a lọ bá àwọn èèyàn táwọn èèyàn yìí dìde ní àsìkò tó jẹ́ pé nígbà òjò nígbà ẹ̀rùn láàárọ̀ lọ́sàn-án lálẹ́ lóru àwọn èèyàn dìde láti dìbò ìbò tó dèdè sí ni kì í ṣe pẹ́pẹ́ yára kìíní ẹjọ́ wíwíwí báwo ló ti wá jẹ́ pé àti ìlú ibi tí Tinubu ti jáde wá wọ́n wọ wọ́n jẹ̀ta àwọ̀ wọ́n pé yóò it's alright wọ́n yẹ kí Tinubu wé kọ́kọ́ sí ẹ jẹ́ ká rò ó àwa mélòó ní ilẹ̀ Yorùbá state mélòó out of the 36 six states nínú 6 states yìí ọ̀nà àtúgbò lé tàwọ́ lé tàwọ́ náà á bá àwọn èèyàn táwọn èèyàn kú lójijì ẹ bá wa rò dáadáa ẹ̀yin lẹ́wà bẹ́ẹ̀ ẹ̀yin lè ní bàbá nígbà tá a pẹ́lẹ́sẹ̀ bàbá wa ọ̀kla ní fi wá dá o àwọn agáàdì ní fi yí lẹ̀.
I'd like to apologize for missing the subtitle and the translation, but I'll do my best to translate what he said. He said he's 70 years old, and you know, once you clock 70, anything can happen. Now, what kind of work is he going to do? And why do you go and evict people during the rainy season? These are the same people that voted for you during elections. That the government should have a sort of human face when doing these things, and they should think deeply before carrying out such what he termed extreme actions. And I guess that's, to paraphrase what he said, that's the summary of the entire discourse from my own point of view and my understanding of the Yoruba language.
It's, again, how we prioritize our citizens, how we prioritize the welfare of our citizens is something that must be spoken about. We're not saying, whenever we hear the stories of demolitions, the first thing we think about is, before there was a demolition, there was an erection. Who erected these buildings? Who gave the approvals for the erecting of these buildings? And why was it that we allowed the buildings get completed, people to live in, settle, form, you know, have their lives being sorted out, and all of a sudden you come back and you show up and say that the buildings are either illegal, you know, they were wrongfully built, that they didn't get the necessary approvals, and then you pull the buildings down. What this does, land is a fundamental part of people's history, story, and identity. A number of citizens have these properties tied to their family, you know, it's part of their ancestral land from generation to generation. Yeah. I would have loved to have a home where I would say, I grew up in this home. My father, I remember memories of my father, my grandfather in this home. I didn't have that, but there are people who have that. And there are people who have that in these homes that are being demolished. Watching that 70-year-old man speak really broke my heart, because really he's in the latter end, you know, of his life. Yeah. When we should be caring more for our senior citizens. Yes, I always say that we do not prioritize the welfare of our senior citizens. Is it this part of his life that we expect him to go and start hustling to build a new house? Where do we expect him to find? Exactly. Where do we expect him? But it's not necessarily just about him, right? But it's the fact that when it comes to demolition, yes, I know that our laws, by virtue of the Land Use Act, Section 1 of the Land Use Act, ensures that every land belongs to the government, right? But government must have a human face. even in interpreting the law.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen recent videos at the trade fair, commercial properties that they've spent monies, you know, building the foundation, block work and all of that. I mean, complete structures just demolished. Where were you in the first place when they were erecting all this? This the video of the trade fair. I mean, all the structures. It's just wickedness. So
when those in the Lagos market are complaining of the fire disaster, here they become complaining of a human disaster because, again, how did they get these approvals? There's no way they will
how
say to me.
How strict is enforcement? You build from, I mean, these are buildings that
they were not put up in 2 weeks.
Exactly.
It took months for these buildings to be completed. Government needs to have a human face, and we can't continue to be demolishing in a bid to enforce what we think is the right policy or right standard of operation. We have to prioritize citizens and do better. But let's bring you what Nigerians are saying about this. So next, Dear Liar Homes, Liar Property says, most of the properties demolished are illegal buildings. Most people buy lands without due diligence and verifying the documents. Some build on canals. On this one, last Lagos State Building Authority, Control Agency at fault because they're not doing their work. 16 years ago, a particular woman bought land in the estate where we live. My dad advised her that it is a canal and she'll be stopping the flow of water. There's nothing she didn't say to my dad. 2 years ago, Lagos State marked the place for demolition because houses around keeps getting flooded. People want cheap properties and they do not want to do the right thing. It may take government 20 years, but one day they will notice. Let's pause here. No, let's go back. Let's pause on that tweet.
Yeah.
Let's go back to that first one. There's something to unpack in that tweet. She says here that the woman bought the land in the estate where she lives. Who sold the land?
A land on a canal in what is supposed to be an estate. So you expect them to have a certain level of rules and regulations.
So how do we then ensure that people, and I agree that citizens have a role to play in terms of getting your due diligence done. Don't just buy when you're seeing Bonanza on Instagram or you're seeing random. There are lots of people who have realized that real estate is a thriving market and will do anything to ensure that they would
buy land 10 minutes from Dangote, give you fridge and 6 rams.
All sorts of things. But again, like I say, how did that building get constructed? How did that building get erected? Who gave the approvals? And why did they not stop this when they were when they were still at foundation level? Let's take the next tweet. In the next tweet, this is a painful reminder that leadership choices have consequences. When we vote for our leaders, we entrust them with our safety, dignity, and future, not just our ballot. Compensation or not, the bigger lesson here is that governance must be about competence, empathy, and justice. Until we learn to put those first, the ordinary citizen will keep paying the price.
Yeah, and also, I mean, we're pro-law, we're for order and things being done properly. Because if everybody can build anywhere in the name of human face, then you have buildings on, I'm telling you, you have markets. Just look at the rail tracks. Nigerians, if you allow human beings to be lawless, they will take extraordinary measures. When you're riding on the trains, you see market stalls very close to the rail tracks. I mean, that's even a safety issue. And when the government chases them from there, people will say, oh, the government doesn't have a human face and all of that. It's just wrong. So human beings and Nigerians need to do things properly and follow due diligence. And also, for the enforcement side of government, they shouldn't wait till structures get to Tower of Babel level before you destroy them. I
think that, for me, this part you just mentioned is the most important part. We need to think of system and structures that would ensure that the government needs to think of system and structures to ensure that they can monitor buildings and ensure that these buildings don't kick off from ground level because it causes more damage. And it's not a good look for the government.
And even the cost of destroying them is more when they are fully erect structures. So it's better you're proactive and you stop this, you stop the buildings before it leaves foundation level.
All right, let's now head to Adamawa State where the pupils are demanding better learning spaces from the government. We'll take a look at this video and when we come back, we'll share our thoughts and then we'll talk more about it. Look at it, look at here. These are clips of students in a classroom without chairs, without the necessary learning facilities. Let's take a look at this video.
Aga ke karatu? Ba kujeru? Tun yaushe? Ya kai shekara na? Shekara 3? To yanzu me kuke so gwamna ya muku? Mutum ɗaya tashi ya magana. Mutum ɗaya. Anyone?
So that's a school in Adamawa State, and once again we apologize for not having the subtitle and translation for you. Unfortunately, Oliver and I can't speak the Hausa language.
I can. Yeah. Speak for yourself. I'm just not in the mood to interpret.
I see. But it would be good to note that Adamawa has a some 6% multidimensional poverty rate. 3 out of 4 people lack access to basic needs. And that source is from the African Center for Leadership Strategy and Development. But, I mean, it's no excuse for pupils to learn in that condition. Just a few days ago, sadly, we were talking about pupils in Ekiti State. They were getting water out of their classrooms. This is a dry classroom. And it just goes to show you how much governors and politicians pay attention to education, how much they prioritize education in Nigeria. That's a primary school. That's the basic, the fundamental, the foundation that you will build upon. And if the infrastructure at that level is like that, then what hope do you have for the children? I mean, it's gross irresponsibility that in 2025, you still have schools like this.
Imagine what it will look like. We talked about Ekiti State packing water. This one, I imagine what it will look like as well if, you know, it were to rain. It's interesting to know that Adamawa State reportedly has about 886,000 out-of-school children. And unfortunately, look at what is...
Is it not also in Adamawa State that 21 wives of local government chairpersons went to...
Was it in Adamawa State?
I think...
I don't know if it was Adamawa State.
That went to Turkey to learn how to legislate or to how to support their government.
I don't think it was in Adamawa State. But again, like you have said earlier, it's the basic reflection of how we prioritize education. I don't think that we put the premium on education that we should. It's in, you know, from the top to the bottom. First of all, looking at our budgetary allocation to education, we've never met the prescription by UNESCO. Never ever met the prescription, you know, to our budget. And there are some states that, yes, are trying. If so, at a state level, at a federal level, there's so much that needs to be done. There's so much that can be done. And
they need to, I don't think they're paying emergency, they're not paying the attention that is due to the education sector because it has national security implications. How do you want your workforce? There's so many things that are tied to education. And at that level, if you've given up hope by the learning environment, it's really, really terrible. Nigeria should do better when it comes to education.
Absolutely.
And this is just a shame. I really hope this will spur... This is not to shame the government or to...
No, it is to shame.
I mean, it's to... I hope this shame will spur the government into action, the government of Adamawa State.
The time should come when citizens we will start going to schools, taking pictures and videos, posting them online, so that by the time they see it, there'll be some form of embarrassment for the ones that genuinely can get embarrassed, and then they will be moved to...
And we can't, you know, we can't corporate social responsibility our way out of this problem.
No, we can't.
Because you've had corporate organizations that have donated or renovated school blocks. You've had well-meaning individuals that have done their quota, but it's not their responsibility in the first place.
However, it is a collaborative effort
to take the major steps in fixing education, not just the environment, the curriculum, and the entire well-being of the pupils. How many new schools? The population is growing. How many new schools are they building in Lagos, for example, in your environment? Have you seen any new blocks? But you look at nightclubs and hotels, they're popping up every other... Anyway, that's a conversation for another day.
Why are the people patronizing them? All right, let's see what Nigerians are saying on X about that story. Nigerian politicians are the happiest and the luckiest in the world. They get away with everything and still thank God daily for blessing them with Nigerian citizens.
You know, if I had my way, if I had a genie, first thing I would do if I was president for one day, or I mean, if I could make policy decisions, is to first remove that excellency. Nigerian politicians don't deserve that honorific. There's nothing excellent about what they do.
Are you quoting
it should be Mr. And he said that.
He said, for you to be an excellency, you must have gotten your mandate through an excellence or something like that.
Forget the mandates. Your conduct has to be excellent. Do you know the meaning of excellence? We've rubbished it.
Excellence is above
peak.
Good.
Exactly.
It's above better.
It's the highest level of achievement one can get. And you look at all the states. You see sirens blaring here and there. You think they're in a hurry to go and fix things. They're not. They just want the ordinary proletariat, citizens, the serfs, to move out of the way, to clear, to go to wherever place they're going to. And it's really, really unfair. We need to do better.
We do need to do better. So
they should stop calling themselves Your Excellency.
So if you want to be referred to as Your Excellency, you better be an excellent leader. All right. Do we have a time for a final story?
Yes, and I really want to know your take on this, because many Nigerians of our age or post-NYC Nigerians will be saying, we escaped this. So NYC is now saying that NYC core members will have to submit a thesis before they graduate or get their NYC discharge certificate.
So the question is, what kind of thesis? Is it their final year thesis that is submitted in school? Or is it a fresh thesis? I'm not quite sure what the...
Their one-year thesis on, they had served the country, they must have seen one problem or the other. So their suggestions or solutions or discoveries or, research would be in that thesis. Because you can't just come and match for 1 year and collect alawi for 1 year. You have to give back to the country suggestions in ways, what areas you think can improve what you've observed. Research paper, thesis. Or
Section 6, subsection 1, paragraph 23 of the NYC policy. So they said President Tinubu has invoked provisions in Section 2, subsection 4. Paragraph 4 and Section 16, subsection 1C of the NYC Act. And this has, sort of provided for, as a quality assurance check and a yearly independent proof of continuous academic enrollment and affiliation. And it is expected to inviolably timestamp scholarship, academic activities, and footprint regardless of location. So they say that this is meant to check certificate racketeering and the abuse of honors conferred on individuals by academic institutions. One of the new mandatory requirements of Nigerian students contained in the federal government's policy is the deposit of academic outputs, which include thesis or project reports. So yeah, I was right.
From the university?
I would think so.
Yes.
Yes,
before you were enrolled.
Well.
And I've seen lots of them when you buy Suya or Guguru and Epa. Different theses.
I used to have my thesis from university, but I still remember the topic.
Of course.
A critical analysis of child adoption laws in Nigeria.
Sadly, I can't remember mine. It was a long, long time ago in Bethlehem.
Okay, let's get out of here. But let us know, are you excited about the prospect of having to submit your thesis to get your NYC maybe approval or get your NYC posting? I certainly know that a number of Nigerian students are like, what kind of problem is this?
No, it's fresh. You're fresh from university when you go for NYC, so they should have it.
Well, the reforms that they're asking for, there's been a lot of improvement in NYC, but I would say that there still needs to be a lot more improvement in terms of where they live, in terms of treating them like human beings. You can't be coming to camp.
They're going to ask for hard copies, and they pile it up somewhere where they won't
even look through it.
It's
just formality.
Yeah, just another step to make life harder for Nigerians.
Well, but if you were a student at this point, and just imagine that you're a 2025 graduate and you're about to go for NYSC, what do you think your project will be about?
I can't think of...
Of all the stories that we talk about, which one would you say interests you the most to analyze?
Insecurity in Nigeria.
That's interesting.
Using AI to tackle it.
Hey, hi. Non-kinetic means. All right. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. Let's share with you what the headlines are. Dismisses former President Jonathan's 2027 bid, warns of dismal records. We'll be analyzing the state of the nation with Mr. Segun Showumi. The CGN seeks laws to strengthen judicial independence. Lots of sons were sworn in this recently, and we'll also be explaining that. The Africa Energy Week 2025 kicks off, and the newspaper front pages will be brought to you. Stick with us. Former Minister of Information, Professor Jerry Ghana, recently made a declaration saying former President Goodluck Jonathan will contest the 2027 presidential election under the PDP and return to Aso Rock. Jerry Ghana, who is also a founding member of the PDP, insists that Nigerians were yearning for Jonathan's leadership again after experiencing life under two different administrations since he left office in 2015. But is this a real possibility, or is it just political nostalgia?
Is it political nostalgia? Now, joining us this morning to explore the political feasibility of this comeback is former Special Advisor on Youth and Student Affairs to President Jonathan, Comrade Jude Imagwe. Warm welcome to you. And thanks for joining us this morning on Breakfast Central.
Good morning, Binga, and thank you for having me.
Now, Comrade, your principal is yet to confirm or deny. But Professor Jerry Ghana says Jonathan, former President Goodluck Jonathan, will contest in 2027. Has the former president given any indication to you or his inner circle that is ready to return? What do you make of all of this rumors about his contesting?
Yeah, it's good you also ended by saying they are all rumors. Yeah, there are rumors to the extent that which my principal himself have not clearly stated that he's contesting an election. Neither had he mentioned it to myself or any persons around. Yeah, the beauty of it is, as much as the pressure continues to mount, the pressure does not only mount on him contesting an election, the pressure now also mounts on the incumbent government to begin to take a reflection around themselves on why people should be desiring the past to the present. And if that becomes something that is interesting for them to juggle up their ways of governance, then it makes the democracy deepen. I will not pretend that there are no pressures. I've mentioned this before. I will not pretend that there are no pressures around my boss contesting an election in 2027. But that at all times I have stated is dependent on his own decision and assessment of the entire circle that wants to throw him up. It's usually, for me, not about just contesting an election. It's about winning an election. So if it is for the purpose of contesting an election, then they may push him into contesting an election. But if it is for what he has built out of office, the image he now commands, and the acceptance that people have now come to the realization that, yeah, this man was pushed out of office, built to mantles of lies and several misinformation that was thrown to the Nigerian people then that was misleading, that led to the 2015 general election. And again, he has the strength, he's an academician too, to look at, weigh the options, look at all the parameters, indexes around the electorals, because 2027 election is not just an election like it was before. I tell people without contradiction that 2027 election is completely going to be an entirely different electoral system, because the consciousness of the Nigerian people has been so deepened and enlightened. The preparedness of the Nigerian people to go into the ballot is so very evident from the way you see them shout and the way you see them express themselves. There are reflections and there are instances globally that suggest that what people want can now happen. These things are not things that someone or a government should just jettison. And then the third leg of it again is how prepared are political parties themselves? Because it is usually very funny for us now to just wake up and say, President Jonathan wants to contest election, President Jonathan wants to contest election, Professor Jerry Ghana said, some other persons have also said, let him come and contest election. Now, what has the political parties themselves done as regard towards the electoral reforms? What stance have they taken? How have they been able to push INEC to make clarity how elections will be conducted, what we should be expecting? Are we going to be expecting real-time electoral result declaration? What the VAR and all the rest, what rules are each of these ICT components be playing in the electoral cycle? They are not discussing that. We are just discussing an election. But election is said before the election, there is a process. The process that leads to the voting is the process that leads to rigging. It is not the voting center that elections are being rigged. It is the process that builds up to when you go to vote and the process that takes off after you vote. These are instances where manipulation can take place. And if a serious political party is not concerned about how 2023 election turned into technical glitches and is still concerned about how elections will just be conducted, then there is a problem. I don't feel that we should just narrow and limit ourselves to calling my boss to contest in an election. We should also tell ourselves that to what extent have we as political parties deepened the electoral reform system that can make him come to an election and conduct an election on a free, fair and credible space. And another one is, in some days now, we'll be expecting an announcement of who is going to be the subsequent replacement for Professor Yakubu Mahmoud. No matter how people also see him as somebody that may have conducted an election that raised several controversy, I will say it for free. Professor Mahmoud raised a whole lot of reforms in the INEC system. And if political parties didn't actually deepen it, it's just to be blamed. It's not that. Professor Mahmoud actually brought several innovations, several reforms into INEC. We hope that the person that will be replacing him will be somebody that will also have the character, the strength, and the personality to deepen this and to take us away from where we are presently. The challenge around it is who appoints INEC national chairman? What are the processes that surround the appointment of INEC national chairman? So it's not only about President Jonathan coming to contest election. It's about a whole lot of things, factors around the election itself.
All right, Comrade Judy Magwe, beyond the systems and structures that exist regarding political and electoral reforms, the presidency has responded, and their argument is that former President Goodluck Jonathan has dismal records whilst in office. In a tweet, Bayo Onanuga goes on to list a number of things. He referenced Professor Jerry Ghana's statement, and I'm going to read a few lines from the tweet. He says that they should caution former President Jonathan to be wary of the PDP sugar-coated leaders. And then he goes on to he says, let us remind ourselves about Jonathan's record. We cannot forget in a hurry how his regime, devoid of any clear economic agenda, engaged in frivolous spending, ran the economy aground, and put the country in dire straits. The nation's economic downturn, which President Tinubu is working very hard to overcome, actually began under President Jonathan. The Jonathan administration severely damaged the economy, and all key indicators declined under his watch. He went ahead to say, under him, the so-called business moguls allocated foreign exchange to import fuel, simply pocketing the dollars without importing anything. Some of those big men still have court cases on the issues today. He lists a number of things and then ends it by saying, in contrast, President Tinubu has taken bold decisions over the last 28 months to reset the economy, removing the ruinous fuel subsidy and abolishing multiple exchange rates, which paved the way for arbitrage to flourish. He says that the president has stabilized the economy in slightly over 2 years in office. How do you respond to this?
Believe, my dear, I would not have expected anything less than what Adenuga has mentioned. Yeah, you expect him to actually play the role to which he's been hired for. And except he's living in outer space, and also except he's not also in consonant with reality, that is when he cannot compare President Jonathan's, as then president, economic reforms and growth to what we are having today. And for him to have courageously mentioned before the Nigerian people that through his tweet that what the President Tinubu is trying to fix is ranging from President Jonathan's mismanagement. It's as unfortunate as it is. I hope he has the presence of mind to go for confession if he's a Catholic, so that his sins can be absolved. Now, if he is honest and true to himself, let us begin to range it from commodity to commodity, from sector to sector, and from national unity to where we are. The first thing in 2015, between Jonathan's administration of 2012 to 2015, I tell you clearly that Nigeria was not as divided as it is today. Nigerians had the right of expression. Nigerians had this freedom. That was why you had some of them, including the incumbent president and so many others, had the liberty to stage the subsidy removal protest they had in January 1st. Now, this was an atmosphere of freedom, an atmosphere of expression. You remember also at the level of Eagle Square, the likes of Senator Dino and so many others stood on the podium. They were calling President Jonathan then as president, sitting in chair, a drunkard. They gave him all forms of derogatory. Did they arrest anybody? The answer is no. So for freedom of speech, freedom of expression, right of association, is there any basis of comparison? Tell him to explain that. Now we're coming back to things we go to market to normally buy yesterday. Are they the same with what they are today? You have 8 years of President Buhari. You have skipped to 8 years of President Buhari to go into another 4 years down the lane. That makes it 12 years. Now, so if you knew you were not prepared to solve a problem, why did you take the job? A man is hired not to say because there were problems yesterday. Yes, there are problems. There are gaps. Why you put in your CV and say you want to make changes of those gaps? If you have now come to make the changes of the gap and you are shouting that these problems are too much, then leave it for some person that has the capacity to do. So I do not think that they are doing the president well by coming up to want to raise several aspersions, raise several negative things. See, if President Jonathan was in no way a threat to them, they will not be responding. And that is not what I am even discussing. When the time comes, if the president said he's going to contest, Nigerians will have the strength to weigh the comparison between the President Jonathan and the incumbent administration. Is it for foreign policies? So I do not know the yardstick, the basis. When they say people were corrupt, I do not understand what it means by corruption. Is he going to also run away from the fact that there is executive? I would say that between the last 12 years, there is what I call a prodigal administration, where a government wakes up and says one of the major problems we had is the purchase of yacht. Where is the yacht today? Have you heard at any instance where they say this yacht is being used? But at the time, it was something that was presidential jet, state house clinic, and we don't want to label ourselves with things that are not in the public airspace reality. The people and the citizens, for them to be shouting something is wrong. What I expect spokespersons of the president at this instance to be doing is, what are the reasons why people... You remember I stated clearly that it is an error for you to be seated on the chair today and somebody is telling you, Olivia and Benga, that we want somebody that has sat here 12 years ago to come sit. They are not telling you to go. They are saying we want somebody that has sat here 12 years ago to come sit. What that should suggest to you elementarily is the fact that you are not doing right. You have also moved them back 16 years ago. That is why they are looking for a 12 years ago administration leader to come sit. So what you should do as somebody that is futuristic, somebody that is honest, and somebody that wants to actually have a connection with the citizen, is to begin to pencil down what are truly the things that are making people yearn for the past than the present. How do we juggle up to correct these mistakes? What do we do? There is no government that is a total failure. Yes, I will say, as much as we are crying so much about President Tinubu, I'll give to him some of the reform policies that he has taken. But again, those policies you take, you don't take them without robust conversation, and that is where the challenges are.
Yeah,
Policies are not just targeted at infringing injuries, pains, and sufferings of people. You must have conversation with people. When President Jonathan suggested the removal of subsidy, there were a lot of robust conversation before he went ahead with it. And when he went ahead with it, you saw we had Shopee, we had several things that were already penciled on how the removal of subsidy was going to be spent. There was already implementation of these processes before it was removed. When it was removed, they came and they shouted, he called it back. And what was the pump price then, and what is it today? So these basis of comparisons are just there to mislead the public so that people don't get to discuss what the reality of the present Nigerian state is. Yesterday, just watched a reporter in Arise, your sister station, was murdered. Is that the same as it was before? So when we are talking about insecurity, talking about so many things, somebody should have the conscience and the presence of mind to say what people are yearning for is true. I'm not coming up to say Nigerians will not forget. Yes, truly Nigerians will not forget. Nigerians too will still hold the presence to account when they want to go to the ballot. Now,
thank you very much, Comrade Imagwe. So let's come back to reality, because what we're discussing right now is just speculations and it's hypothetical, because the man in question has not categorically come out to say, I will be contesting in 2027. Now, some might say that criticism by Mr. Bayo Onanuga and the presidency of the former president is premature, because he hasn't come out to say he's contesting, but they say in politics and in war, all is fair. That brings me to my question. Former President Jonathan is somebody you've worked with closely. You understand his temperament. A few weeks ago, we saw a video where the First Lady, Dame Patience Jonathan, openly said that, can't you see how fresh I look, that I'm tired, that what are we going back there to look for? And if you recall the presidency, she was larger-than-life character. She was very vocal, and she was right there at the side of her husband. Given her temperament, and given President Jonathan's record outside the presidency, he's been a peace ambassador, he's been an electoral observer to many African countries during elections, and he seems to have taken up the role of an elder statesman, you know, and enjoying his retirement. If you could advise him on a personal note, would you advise him to contest in 2027?
Yeah, you've asked this question before, and I do not know why. Gbenga, you're always tempted to wanting to put me on the spot and to know whether I will say yes or no. Now, let me be very straight with you. The statement that is being credited to Mama P, former First Lady, as was statement that was made about in last 2024. Now, for it to begin to resonate, it suggests to you that they are looking for everything to try to see how they can discredit, how they can suggest, how they can box the former president for not wanting to aspire. Now, for me as a person and as a son to the former president, is the fact that I would say it from a personal side and from a political aspect of it. From a personal side of it, I will tell the president not to contest an election for two reasons. The first is there is no political party as it stands today that suggests to me that is serious, disciplined, and have weighed all the options to contest an election as an opposition party. And so the only reason why the president can contest an election is if there is a platform like that that threw up President Buhari in 2011. Now, if there are no platforms that will suggest that as at 2013, 2014, like the ACN, CPC, AC, and all of them had, that they came together and subsequently now translated into one political party that is now the APC to unseat the then PDP. If such kind of platform is not available, he doesn't have a business to be on the ballot. I said from beginning that it is not about being on the ballot that matters. It's about winning an election when you are on the ballot. So if you go for an election just for the purpose of wanting to be an election, I've contested an election before and I know what it is to go into an election and the election result is upturned, it's not in your favor, how you begin to get demoralized and the rest. So he cannot get himself to that state again. So if there are no things that suggest that there is a serious opposition political party, I will say to him, like I will always say, please continue to live your quiet life, your peaceful life, and the manner at which you have been serving Nigerians and the global community, carrying the Nigerian image as that represents peace, unity, and the electoral processes that you are driving across the globe. Then, it is my advice for him. It is, again, he's a father. It is so desire to say, I have seen this, I'm ready to do anything I want to do, if it is to change the mind and change the hope and give Nigerians another hope. That is his decision to make. Then the second side of it is, if we want to be very honest, I want us to look at this administration and look at how things are being done and tell me in all sense of honesty. We are discussing a replacement for Professor Mahmoud. Nobody has yet just now told us the processes that will lead to the election or the emergence of a new INEC chairman. Now, I do not see, except it was President Jonathan that accommodated that and allowed that to happen. I also do not also see what suggests that any other person could be like President Jonathan, that we appoint an INEC chairman that will pretend over an election and declare him a loser. Because here people say that it's just an INEC chairman, there are other resident electoral officers and the rest. There were other resident electoral officers that brought results that technical glitches explained. So it is a man that finally announces a result that says you can go to court or you want to go home and rest. So are all these things evidence? Do we think that these things are visible going to 2027? If there are no evidence, if there are no visible, if there is nothing that suggests that these things can come to be, as much as people continue to shout, it does not translate to reality. I was telling a friend yesterday, the worst situation we can find ourselves is that which we have found ourselves is when you are looking for something and the person that is assisting you to look for that thing are the holders of that thing that you are looking for. You can never find it. Because you will be looking for it and the person will be leading you to where they know you can never find it, while they are in possession of it. So the only way we can get out of all this brouhaha is to say, President Jonathan, the duty is yours, the choice is yours. If you weigh all the options, you look at the environment and you say, these things are clear. If you say you are throwing yourself on the ballot, I do not have any choice. I will support him as my principal. I will give all my best. I will do all I can do to talk to the Nigerian people. But again, I cannot make that decision for him. It is his duty to make that decision for himself.
Comrade Judy Magwe, he hasn't said anything to it yet. Many will assume that the fact that he's been silent about it and hasn't come out to clearly say, I'm not running, these are all rumors, means that there may be a hint of truth to it. So dust your CV up, you might be back to work shortly. Thank you very much, Comrade Judy Magwe, for joining us this morning.
Thank you,
Central.
Thank you,
we'll see you shortly.
Yeah, let's hope that he says something, and we'll tell whatever he says at the end of the day. He may also be studying the Nigerian political space to know how things are going to be done. This was not how he left it years ago. And if he finds that there is nothing that suggests that he's going to have a free, fair, and credible platform, I do not think that he should be on it. But if he finds out that he has the capacity to bear whatever comes out of it as consequences just for the purpose of deepening Nigerian democracy, then he goes in. When he goes in, we'll come in with him.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Comrade Magwe, for joining us this morning. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
And you too, have a wonderful day. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, please.
Yes,
thank you.
Let's now share with you what's coming up next on Breakfast Central.
Coming up next this morning on Breakfast Central, we will be analysing the state of the nation. And Africa Energy Weeks kicks off today. The federal government begins a rabies vaccination. You stay with us. Breakfast Central continues shortly. Next, we shift our focus to Nigeria's political polls. From party fractures to new movements and presidential speculations, the road to 2027 is already paved with intrigues. Our guest today is no stranger to political discourse, and he joins us to unpack our conversation on the state of our dear nation, Nigeria. Join us this morning to dissect all of this is the convener of the alternative movement, Otumba Segun Showme. A warm welcome to you, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central again.
You know, every time I come into your studio, I just feel like I'm like in Al Jazeera. It's beautiful, it's well lit, it's well designed. Happy Independence, happy 65, and Bengas, nice to see you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Shoot.
Yeah, so beyond the pizzazz and the structure at New Central, the people to equality, the human beings at New Central, it's a great place to work. But let's get straight to our business. So yesterday, you were part of a tour, a delegation that accompanied the Honorable Minister of Works announcing, Honorable Minister of Works, Engineer Dave Umahi, to inspect the coastal road. What was your experience like, and what's your assessment of the level of work done so far? Level of work, quality of work.
Okay, let me first of all take you to how did I even end up being invited to follow him. I'd gone to have a haircut about 4, 5, 6 days ago before the weekend in Abuja. And as I sat there in one of those busy, not so bad salons, I heard people talking a lot about the Maraba Abuja Road. Now, I then cleverly said, oh, that Maraba Abuja, where is it? They said it's in Nasarawa. So I said, oh, if it's in Nasarawa, is that not supposed to be the governor of Nasarawa that is fixing that? Because they were complaining a lot, young people. So it turned out that they said, no, it's a federal road, and I said, okay. They spoke so much until I said, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to talk to the Minister of Works and ask him what's the score on that road, since it means so much to you guys. Because I gave a promise, I didn't have time, I was busy doing other things. Then a couple of days later, I just sent a text message. The Honorable Minister, I would like to give you a feedback and ask you a question. I didn't want to start saying Maraba Road so that I don't start giving me all the excuses. I left it as a WhatsApp message. Oh God, within 2-3 minutes, he called me. And it was so boisterous. I'm on my way to Ebonyi, but if we could do it on Tuesday. What? Do people like this still work in our country where they get a message and they feel they have to respond? One story, and they say, can we even do something different? I said, what? You're always very intentional about value. Why don't you just come to Lagos and let's go and look at the coastal road? Remember, that coastal road will come from Lagos, it will go to my state, Ogun, it will go to Ondo, where my mom is from, and all the coastal areas and all the stories around it. So I said, okay, Honorable Minister, I could do that. When do you want to do it? So we're going to do it on Monday. Okay, I said, okay, all right, I'll come. And I'll bring 3 friends. He said, okay, bring them. So I woke up and I called one of the biggest communication managers in the country from the journalistic side of it. I called one of the biggest business communication person, and I called myself and I said, and then I called one person from the sub-cell. I'll tell you their names later. I said, okay, let's go. I kept asking myself, what are we going to see? Will I be wowed? Why? Okay, and I said, I'm going to stand in the gap for the numerous people in Nigeria who have never been there and who have never seen it. First things first, the president, with due respect, is extremely lucky to have someone that has very fantastic people skills. The second thing is that, oh God, you need to see the scope of the project and the level of the delivery and understand the vision that is driving it. And I say to yourself, I always, whenever I traveled and I went to a place and I saw one big monastery or one big church or something that is from the past, like they say, oh, this one is 100 years, 1,000 years. You know what I said to myself? I said to myself that, what the hell were our own ancestors doing? We just be talking Shango, this, Amadeo, all this stupid story.
Yeah, we beat the beginning world.
No, forget that. Yes. No, the beginning world. This is like joke, man. Have you seen the Taj Mahal? So I used to feel like maybe our people were not hungry enough to even build things. And you go to the, when I saw Lagos, I saw the work involved. I saw how much work they've done. I engaged I-Tech. We went over to, guys, do not hate your country so much until you people don't want us to build something for the next generation. That is a very well thought out project, well delivered. I saw the way the machines were laying the concrete. It's almost as if you are building a bridge, really. I saw the quality of, materials they were using to lay it. And I asked all the tough questions. What about the depth? Some of them, the depth, I put my hand to measure. The depth is from my fingers to here. And no, guys, they're doing it on almost 4 or 5 sections at the same time. They're doing the Calabar end. They're doing the Lekki going into about more than 10-something kilometers end. They're doing the Ondo end. They're going, at the point I said, okay, Mr. Please. I hear that you are connecting the coastal road. But my greatest agony in this life as I became an adult is, what are you doing to the southeast? You need to tell me, because you can't be explaining stories and get the impression that we're running the country behind their back. How is it connected? Then he started explaining to me, we're going to link it here. Dude, that road is well built. That road is well conceived. That road is visionary. That road will give you an idea of how did Dubai get their own coastal way.
But beyond that road, Nigerians will tell you that
beautiful.
Nigerians are still dying from bad roads, the existing road networks.
You know how big this country is? Do you have an idea? Do you even have an idea? Wait a minute. Do you have an idea of how big just Lagos is? As small and as tiny as Lagos. Then do you have an idea of how many Lagos we can fit into Niger? And then do you have an idea of the entire 36 infrastructure? Do you have an idea of how many kilometers of road this country needs to be doing continuously non-stop? You can't fix all the roads at once. You never have all the money. You won't even have all the manpower. So you're going to be doing roads. Some of them, they said they have something like 4 major legacy roads they are doing. The one coming from Sokoto, which was the one I was shouting to him about that. I need to see what you're doing with that road. That road has been on the border since Shagari. Show me. What are you doing about the East-West road? Bottom line is, this country has a tripartite governmental structure. The federal government, 36 state government, and 774 local governments. The laws of our country only allocated federal roads to federal government. I even think that the federal government is carrying too much burden in terms of federal roads. But the states have responsibility to do their own roads. Local governments have responsibility to do farm roads and back-end roads. You see, we should convert our country into the biggest construction site because of the value chain. People that are doing the work, people that are supplying material, people that are feeding.
But that's if it's priority for the political class and if they have the political will to
at 65, carry it out. At 65, our country is going to be 65 tomorrow. Happy Independence, Nigeria. We have to breathe out and breathe in a bit and tell ourselves that, are we aware of what's going on in the world? The world as we know it has become almost unilateral. You heard they're no longer funding World Health Organization. They're no longer getting involved in World Trade Organization. They're no longer doing USAID. They just went to the United Nations and even said something to the effect that maybe they're not even going to be interested in the United Nations. You hear countries are fighting trade wars just to make themselves relevant. You see what China is doing. Do you think all of this, from the point of view of countries like we are Nigeria, do you think they do it by creating a culture of never wish your country well, see no good in your country, the only thing you have to say is criticism, and never even look with the eye of, okay, how is it getting half full? And what I found, more than anything else, and I study a lot, I engage people. I've just come back from the State Department. I've just come back from the U.S. Congress. These were things that I go there to go and engage on our behalf. You know what I found out? Look, Nigerians, we are at a point now where, we may have a lot of opinions about democracy, but the most important agenda on our timetable now, in my opinion, is how do we even build consensus around development? Because in our 65 years, we've had Awolowo, we've had Azikwe, we've had Obasanjo, we've had all of this, we've had Abacha, we've had Babangida, we've had this, we've had that, we've even had Buhari, we've had Jonathan, we've had Bola Tinubu. There's one thing that I believe very strongly in my spirit that has not allowed us to scale up, and that is that we never seem to agree as to the direction of the development. So what then happens is that every chief executive, let's call them that, or president, governor, or whatever, that come onto the saddle, except Lagos, they always seem to start a new vision, start all over again, leave things uncompleted. Do you know what is taking China to get here? China is on its second 200-year framework. The first century, building consistently, sufficiently, now they're on the second. We are living witnesses to what China has done in the world. We may have our issues, we may have our opinions about what we don't even know, we don't study, but it is impossible to build the country of our desire if we don't even wish it into existence. We're not ready to play our role. We don't build consensus around development. And I tell you, I was wowed.
So let's talk about what you would say are the hallmarks of development that you've seen so far. You've spoken extensively about the coastal highway, but what would you say are the other indicators? The president had gone ahead to speak about corruption, saying, talking about corruption not being an issue in Nigeria anymore, and talking about the economy being an upward trajectory. But again, you would always see when the presidency says things like that, there'll be pushback from citizens who are saying it's not trickling down here. But paint the picture for us beyond the coastal highway. What are the other markers that you can see?
You are asking me the type of question that the president's aides should be answering. But what I would just say, because I created the alternative movement for us to begin to look at our country with a different eye. What I would say is this: when a president, any president, be it our own or any other one, stands at external forums where other countries are there, you will definitely be an irresponsible leader if you use that platform to shame your country. So some of the positives they try to exude, it's not without them understanding some of the realities of our issues. But no president will go to international community and say, oh, my country is the most corrupt in the world. That don't make sense, especially at this time when everybody is competing for global space. Everything we do in Nigeria, we're just 1% of the global activities, so 1%. Now, so I think the president probably did not really mean it literally like that. And Nigerians need to take it easy with themselves. The only thing that will happen is that, yes, he will be president up to May 29, God willing, if he leaves and all of that, human error and all of that, divine intervention, but let's pray that we don't have to get to that. They will have an opportunity to come to the table and take a look at everything, listen to what the others are saying, and take a decision. But if we don't start breaking this circle of, oh, the Obasanjo is not good, we want him out. Then Jonathan is not good, we want him out. Then Buhari is not good, we want him out. What we're going to be basically doing is that we'll be creating citizens that are not partners with their leaders. What the leaders need to do, in my opinion, is take care of the backline. And in terms of taking care of the backline, really, that is the mass of the people. A private sector neoliberal economic policy which they are running, which all of them say they will run, has one inherent conversation that is not settled. And that is that ultimately when you run it efficiently and the books begin to show you improvement in GDP and all of those things that they're calling positives by rating agencies, how do you let it trickle to the people in the real sense when you have not signed up to an idea of socialism or giving them the money and all that? The way we do it in our country is that you percolate development and the resources that you gather at the top, you give it to the states who have responsibility to fix their state, and then you give some to the local government who have responsibility to fix the back line. The presidency of Nigeria, as presently constituted, does not run a prefectship. A prefectship is something like the kind of thing they do in France, where the person is the president, or like a military regime where you appoint the minister, the governors, and they're like your prefects. And this is not how it is here. The Constitution imagines that we're running, quote unquote, some kind of federalism where the governor of Lagos State can take a look at Lagos State and decide these are our priorities. That priority may be too avant-garde for the people that are living in Lagos State. But there's nothing, I repeat, nothing any president in Abuja ought to be able to do about it. In fact, It is out of desperation to make things get to the people that need them.
The governors.
The
local government.
The presidency.
Yeah.
Go all the way to the Supreme Court
in July.
to be saying local government should. Ordinarily, and I need you to get it, ordinarily, it is an aberration for the federal government to be dictating to state governors at the subnational how they should do local government. But everybody is desperate to figure out how Nigerians can be served. Okay, are Nigerians getting perfectly served? Hell no. But have we turned the corner? In my opinion, we have.
We've turned the corner with regards to certain things. I mean, like you speak, you see the glass half full than empty. But let's talk about what the ordinary Nigerians are interested in. Yes, look, 4% GDP growth is nice. Infrastructure projects here and there, ambitious, great. You need the infrastructure. But the human development indices, the part that affects ordinary Nigerians, the quality of health, education, their standard of living, their well-being. We're a nation of over 200 million people.
Let me jump into that.
And what we're seeing, the social...
You need like a lecture. But let me just...
The social safety nets of the presidency it's handouts.
Once you indicated that direction, I already get you.
But what are we prioritizing? E1 racing, aspirational, things they do in Monaco and Singapore and Dubai. We want to host the Commonwealth Games. I mean, these are what irritates a lot of Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians. They say, look, you haven't even taken care of your Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety, security, feeding, shelter, and we want to do what countries like Singapore do.
Yes.
No, that's a question. Okay, I've landed.
Let me answer it for you. Yes. See, when you ask, I don't know about others, when you ask me a question, about government or about anything, I truly want to share my perspective on it. I don't want a situation where I'm speaking, because it's political or opposition, I just wish the country, but I'm not part of that. For you to be talking about how do we serve the people, if someone comes in and says, I observe that Nigerians and their parents can't readily easily pay for their education in university, and sets up a sustainable framework where they can get the monies and sort of like pay later, and put it there that anybody that wants to go to school in any part of the country can, you got to accept that that's something. If you say, what are we doing about health? One of the legacies of the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria in Nigeria is that we created the primary healthcare infrastructure system where everybody in Nigeria, that's the vision, and I believe everybody has now, there is a primary healthcare. That was done by former Minister Lukoyela Somkuti. The purpose of that really is to give them access to health at the world level. We also have an integrated healthcare system that takes care of secondary. Almost everywhere you turn, you hear teaching hospital, this, all of that, federal. There is none of this thing that is exclusively the federal government responsibility. So you can see some states having their own hospitals and all that. You see, I feel that the question that we need to interrogate, that's why I kept saying consensus around development. The question we need to interrogate in Nigeria is that what is the minimum that the federal government owes the smallest Nigeria? And what do the state owe, and what do the local government? How do we calibrate it together into one vision that we can then say, this is what we've done, this is what remains, this is your own responsibility, this is my role. You see, if we don't do that, we're going to run the risk, and we're already running that. We are that now.
And I wonder, doesn't the Constitution already...
Let me just land this thought. We're going to run the risk that any Jack, Jill, or Mary that runs an election and doesn't win is going to take on the singular responsibility as if that is their life purpose, to just be saying, it's not working in Nigeria, it's not working in Nigeria.
Who are you referring to?
I don't need to. I said any Jack, Jill, or Mary. Do not force me to demarcate people that I know they're just trying their very best, maybe to be useful or popular in the country. Right. And I've advocated very seriously that our duty, even as political voices and political leaders, is really to be infusing hope in our country. Because if we bully the ones that are working And we mistakenly said, like they said during the days of the Buhari regime, oh, they're going to turn $1 to $1 and all that. That's not realistic.
But hope is also not a strategy.
But before that, let's go on a very quick break. We'll come back and this conversation continues. Please stay with us. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the state of the nation with Mr. Segun Shoumi. And before we went on the break, we're speaking about, you were speaking about what we need to decide what we owe the people from the federal to the state and down to the local government. But I want us to take the conversation to a slightly different direction. Let's talk about politics and how we're playing, because politics is a very important part of this democracy that we're celebrating tomorrow. One of the ways in which we establish our rights as Nigerians is by voting. The INEC chairman is now being put on a terminal leave. His term was supposed to end in December 2025. And there have been speculations that there might be water under the sea. Do you have any idea what that might be?
You know, I've not seen any official correspondence.
Did I just say water under the sea? No. There will be trouble.
Just wait. I've not seen any official correspondence, either from INEC or even from those in charge of the country, the presidency, that speaks to that, which they say you should go on leave and all of that. What I have observed is that those who are very lazy, who, as opposition, will not prepare themselves appropriately to be able to get the Nigerian people to say, yes, this is something we want to stand by, have convinced themselves that the conversation on the table is the work tool is bad. When you talk about INEC in Nigeria, you must understand that election is a process. It's almost about a 17 or 21, or if I count it, pre-registration, registration, this, accreditation, and all that, actual voting, then getting the result, announcing, then the final collision. What I have observed, because I'm an interested party and I'm involved, is that I've watched political parties, especially the ones that have been losing for some time, I've watched them assume, based on just hot air, that, oh, yeah, when you get Kanu, then the number of Kanu, you join into the number of Sokoto, and then you join into the number of, and you win. Forgetting that no individual owns the suffrage of the people exclusively. Even if you come from one of the most populous nations where people react to election, you are not alone from there. Other parties have their own place and their own strategy and all of that. And when they then, in their own cuckoo mind, think that, oh, the election is won, the next thing they start thinking is, they start saying, okay, where would the obstacle be? Instead of them to think about how to improve reverse logistics, how to train their agent, how to ensure that they can pick what you call, materials that can be accepted as evidence, they will just be busy shouting, INEC chairman, as if one INEC chairman, even if you let him come from Bola Tinubu's bedroom, is equivalent to the whole infrastructure of even the INEC and the election.
So are you saying they're being sore losers or they're misdirecting their anger?
I think that if you look at them, I think that the vast majority of them are, like us all, creatures of habits. We pick up an habit, we begin to think that that habit is the only thing, we regurgitate it, never mind the fact that we're beginning to sound like broken record. Are we not, is the Federal Republic of Nigeria constitutionally not going to appoint an INEC chairman? That powers to elect that chairman, is it vested in you? Is it vested in you? Did the Constitution vest it in me? The crafters of our Constitution have vested that power in the President. Now, what are the ways you can go to, you can tell the Council of State, oh, I'm thinking of this person only for advice. I mean, it's not an obligation to listen to the advice. When he brings anybody he wants, wherever he decides to shortlist, he's not a fool. He's not going to bring somebody that is totally not even able to do the job or doesn't have the brains for the job. He's still going to send it to the National Assembly. You all have your representative there from your local government and all of that. You see, let us not be silly in thinking that democracy only works because it favors an outcome I predict or I desire. As far as I'm concerned, it's unnecessary. It is beyond disgraceful that that's all we're talking about? The one who brought Jega did his election. The one who kept Jega there is still lost under Jega. The one who appointed Mahmoud. But
the conversation is around the independence of it, that he who pays the piper
You're not
dictates the tune.
I just told you that the constitution did not envisage.
I understand.
So if you now
but they're calling for reforms.
Who pays the piper is a very, very lazy axiom in this circumstance. It's like saying, because the judge of the Supreme Court is the primus inter pares among all the other judges, that means that nobody can go to the Supreme Court and get judgment. It's a complex process. I don't know who's going to be the next INEC chairman. I don't know where they're going to get him from. I truly don't care. All I'm interested in is, let us look at the election process. We seem to be fixated on IREV and the election points. We've done, Beavers has worked. That's for verification and authentication. What we're talking about is
the immediate
transmission. Nico, have you imagined what it means really? That is it the actual polling unit by polling unit that goes there, or is it the weighted average after they've added it all together? Don't forget, from your polling unit you get a result. All your agents get. From the next level of coalition, which is local government, you get. From your work, from your senatorial, you get. From your state, you get, and eventually from the national, you get. Look, anyone who wants to run an election, and I've lost a few, I will say to myself, the best thing to say is, okay, I want to present my ideas to them. I'll try my best, do whatever I need to do to get them to understand the idea. But I must be matured enough to know that they may not accept my idea. No matter how hurtful that loss is, they have not offended me. The winner did not offend me because they chose him over me. He didn't offend me. We are creating a culture that's going to even make the people. Can't you see the result?
My way or the highway.
Are people even turning out anymore? That's why I started the alternative. I looked at the numbers really deeply, and I saw that every successive election, we have wearied the electorate. We're the same ones who will say the person that won is not serving us. We're the ones who will say, oh, the person that won did not win legitimately. We're the ones who will say the process is this, the process that, and slowly but gradually, those who have the presence of mind, educated people like you and I'm not talking about you particularly, are generally now getting uninterested in participating. If the top echelon of the brain power of society does not get involved or are not interested in the election process, who is going to show and teach the rabble-rousers or the mass of our people, who's going to teach them how to evaluate a good material? How would they even know? So you see that vote buying is on the increase, turnout is on the decrease. Why would anybody, someone like you, would you wake up in the morning and be running around because somebody wants to give you one spaghetti, wants to give you like 2,000 naira on election day? But if we don't keep demarketing the entire country and the entire process, more and more people will not be
How do we find the line between demarketing and calling things as they are? Because they would say to you that opposition is actually speaking to what is wrong, making suggestions, preferring solutions. So how do you find that line?
I think the nation is confusing parliamentary system with presidential system. In a parliamentary system, there's someone that is like a shadow. If the prime minister says left, your own job is to say is right. That's parliamentary. In a presidential system, a presidential system, they should follow my lead. What you have to do in opposition is to go and contribute your own ideas, your own energy to reorientating the people to solve the problem you see. And when you want to engage, even if you ask me questions about that, I need to engage the APC government. I will not start saying, oh, I didn't see anything. I'll be saying, I see this, but there's this, there's this, there's this, there's this. I fundamentally have issues on the fact that you can't tell me the Nigerian economy is doing so well when you are not in the same token telling me how you are going to let it percolate to the people. And I get the constitutional problem, but that's why I say we need to agree. If the federal government makes more money, and your governors, I don't know what states you come from, get more than 3-4 times the monies they are getting, your local government are getting more than, why would you not expect to see serving the people at those areas.
And talking about serving the people, just because for lack of time and we have to go now, it will be unfair it will be unfair not to talk about your personal ambitions, because people watching will say, oh, Otumba has all these fantastic ideas. He's thrown his hat in the ring a few times and lost. Then what's going on with you with regards to 2027? Are you in PDP? Is your heart in APC? What's going on?
You know, we have especially the PDP, my party, we have so mismanaged that party that we have found ourselves in what I like to describe as a dead horse scenario. A dead horse scenario is like you're looking at the horse. It's literally gasping for the last energy. Rather than call yourself together as consultant, surgeon, or to say, how can we wake up the horse? Each and every one wants to win alone.
Okay.
And
so, because we really need to go now, we have to go on a break. Are you in PDP?
Have you ever since 1999, no, 98 step back, ever heard me where they talk about another party? That I feel that
your hope not been with the highest level of APC.
No. Listen.
Yeah.
It comes to a point in the life of a nation where you just envy the nations that are doing well. You envy Dubai, you envy China, and you just want Nigeria to just do well.
All right.
And whoever is on the saddle now, so we have to squeeze him as hard as we can to
you are with PDP.
Oh, certainly.
All right, we have to go now. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, we do have to go.
You truly have to go.
Yes, we do. Thank you very much, Mr. Ashagusho. It's always great to have you. We're going to break now. When we come back, we'll be bringing you a very special live report. Please stay with us. The 5th African Energy Week officially kicks today in Cape Town, South Africa, with over 7,000 participants from more than 100 countries. This year seems to set a very key tone. Now let's go live to the Cape Town International Center where it's happening.
My. Say Africa! Africa! That was fantastic performance. My goodness. Please, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause.
It was really fantastic. I almost want to break out into another dance. Don't worry, I won't.
No, not yet. We can do that later in the evening. History teaches us that transformation rarely happens by accident. It happens when leaders combine vision with the political will to turn policy into institutions and resources into opportunity. Think of Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan of the UAE, who channeled oil revenues into schools, hospitals, and infrastructure, creating a legacy beyond hydrocarbons. And here on our continent, in this beautiful land of South Africa, Nelson Mandela showed how moral courage and wise stewardship can frame a nation's destiny.
Sabah al-khair, ahlan wa sahlan. As most of you know, I come from Cairo, and while I stand 9,600 kilometers, I Googled that by the way, away from my city, I'm currently not 600 kilometers from my home, because Africa, this continent that we share, is home to all of us. It's not only the home that holds our heritage, but our future of energy, security, prosperity, innovation, and this why, in this year's Energy Week, we commit to positioning Africa as a true global energy champion.
Over the coming 3 days, we will open the floor to honest conversations about the challenges shaping our social into tangible results.
And what makes this gathering unique, look around Richmond.
Absolutely.
We have a huge diversity here. We have policymakers sitting alongside investors, innovators, community leaders, all bringing global perspective to meet African realities. And here we begin to bridge this gap between vision and implementation.
Absolutely. So whether you have traveled from across the continent, from Cairo to Lagos, Luanda to Harare, or anywhere around the world, your presence here affirms the importance of this mission. As we begin, let us listen critically, ask boldly, and build practically. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we do more than talk about energy, we engineer pathways to prosperity.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this week is more than just a conference. It's a call to action. And we need these confident decisions and commitments and these partnerships forged here in Cape Town to ripple beyond these walls and shape not only Africa's future, but contribute to global energy security.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Karibu Sana, Akwaba, Saubona, Ekabo.
Good morning and welcome to African Energy Week 2025. I'm Amena Bakr.
Thank you. And I am Richmond Osuji. And together we will be driving this opening ceremony as your masters of ceremonies. Talking about driving, let us now get to the very first official remarks of this opening ceremony. I would like to welcome a man who's been driving the vision to invest in Africa for many years across the globe, giving Africa a seat on tables where energy is discussed, giving Africa a voice where they want to drown the hydrocarbons industry, but most importantly, the vision of the reason we are here today. The executive chairman of African Energy Chamber, welcome with me, the game changer, the erudite, NJ Ayuk.
Good morning. You already have breakfast? Good morning. Son Excellence, Monsieur le Premier Ministre, Anatole Makuso de Congo, that's where my French stops. Excellencies, ministers, captains of the industry, friends, and the protesters outside. They're not protesting me, they're protesting you, Eric Prince, and others. It is indeed an honor to be here at the 5th African Energy Week in a city many people call Cape Town, many call it Africa, we call it home. Welcome home. It is indeed a befitting moment, 5 years later. But 5 years ago, many of you in this room, you asked us to build something more than a conference. You asked us to build a movement that will speak up for our continent, that will speak up for an industry. The majority always said the industry is going to its extinction. Well, there was an extinction rebellion. It's really crazy kids in Europe. But we stood for an industry that said, this industry has been that has driven human flourishing, and we're going to stand. 5 years later, I am reporting that we did it. We did it, and we will continue, and we will not stop. I want to take this moment to recognize the AEC leadership, board members, country chairs. Can you please just stand? Don't be shy, they won't target you. Can you please just stand and be recognized? Good, thank you so much for all that you do. You have allowed me across the year to go through your cities, stayed in some of your homes for free. Like that it was an Airbnb, you didn't charge me. But it was very important. You gave us a chance to put Africa's voice on the big tables, in the big rooms. I could not say that without recognizing the Secretary General of the IEF who is here with us. Thank you so much. Thank you for always putting Africa right there. The Secretary General of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, and certainly my big brother and friend, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim of Apple. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you. They actually invited me to the Clean Energy Ministerial Forum. I was shocked, but I said yes. I did go. It was far. I went to Busan, and I got to Busan. But here's what happened in Busan. For the first time, the U.S. Secretary of Energy put forward a landmark proposal to make clean energy using LPG to drive up Africa's growth by dealing with clean cooking. Clean cooking is a big issue. We cannot forget how many people, some say 500,000, I put at 1 million, people who die every year because of lack of clean cooking fuels and they have to use biomass. That is an issue that we must address. And we cannot come to a place where we don't address that using beautiful green LPG to solve our clean cooking problems. So from Busan to Cape Town, to Cairo, to Dakar, to Lomé, LPG is going to be big, and we are going to use it, and we will not stop. Exploration for energy. The state of African energy is resilient, and it continues to go strong. Liberia just signed a few new blocks with Total Energies. Maybe Mike Sansa will tell us what he signed. We're hoping that Mike puts more money in Africa next year. But maybe he might tell us about Mozambique. I don't know. They say I shouldn't talk about gossip, so I don't do TMZ. But we're hoping that project starts in Mozambique because it's time for a country like Mozambique to drive that green gas, so beautiful green gas that we could use across our continent. Who would not want good gas in Africa? It's a gas game because they're using it everywhere. And I dare someone tell Africans to stop because we're not stopping. But as we try to drive up oil, gas, and fancy energies, it's really important that we do our own job. As we heard this morning from our very, very beautiful performance, we got some work to do. Work to deal with our above ground rates. I'll tell you this, the energy industry can take care of all the soft surface issues, but they can't deal with our above ground risk issues. That's our job to do. That's our job to do. We need to move fast. We got a window of opportunity to drive up this industry. But we can still do that by doing some of the things that keep us back. And that's why I urge the public leaders here, the ministers, Mr. Prime Minister, when we sign deals, cut delays, cut red tape, get some of these bureaucrats that hold things from moving. Our continent is moving. That's how we get drill baby drill done. That's how we get it. We need to sign those agreements. Approvals stuck with bureaucrats for such a long time that are not being approved. It shouldn't take 5, 10, sometimes 20 years to approve projects. We have projects. Whoever thought that Congo Brazzaville would be doing 2 floating LNGs? But they said gas was dead in Congo, but these guys from ENI did so good. They did the Tango, they did Nguya and everything. Got Saipem. Saipem, they don't spend money. They're really cheap guys. But they got the job done fast. They got the job done fast. Yes, I said it, they're cheap. Saipem, they don't even want to buy a ticket here. You know? I love you. But it's really important we pay attention to the fiscals. The game is going to change. And it's the fiscals, baby. That's what's going to make us better. The future for us in Africa is not for us to predict. It's for us to create. And we have a moment where we can create that future. And we'll create that future. We start an African Renaissance where young kids can believe in our continent, where you can do business and government can get more revenue. We create jobs because at the end of the day, that's what our industry is about. It's about jobs. But we also know that we have to deal with some of these issues. Besides of putting pressure on African leadership to move, it's also very important that we deal with the clear discrimination. I call it financial apartheid, where gas is growing for the few in Europe that can afford it, but gas is not growing in Africa, so they can finance this. We need to stop these exclusionary rules, and we need to also deal with development banks like multilateral institutions, which their first cut is oil and natural gas financing. That discriminatory rule led us to take on the banks to say, get back to the table or we will sue you. Because you can't use African pension funds, save it in your big financial institution, then don't fund African energy development. That is wrong, and we would not stop. That's our next battle. And believe you me, I'm going to stick up the pressure. Some of you might not like what I tweet about them, but that's how you get them to listen. South Africa, I love this country. But South Africa is a mess when it comes to oil and gas development. You can't shoot seismic because you get a few, I don't know what to call them. They protest, litigate, sue you, bog you down in courts, so you can't even shoot seismic. You realize a country with load shedding, lack of energy. Namibia is doing amazing with amazing discoveries in Namibia. They just have only 20% of that orange basin. 80% of that orange river is in South Africa. And you can't get it moving. It's time to pass legislation. Cut out this red tape. Move it so that companies who are here, they can drill, they can make it happen. And I close with this. You know, you got people like, where's Katrina? Katrina Fisher. Please stand up. She has been a champion for STEM development with excellence. Thank you, Katrina. Thank you. Thank you. Adriano from Azule, you've done well. You get the job done. We like guys like you. Thank you so much. You did amazing with Agogo. Francois, who's that you see? He's from Parenco. He's probably cutting a deal somewhere. Thank you, Francois. Thank you for all that you do across Africa. But we are going to move with energy. I urge you not to stop. You heard these young people. Africa is urging you not to stop. We have a moment that our continent can produce every drop of hydrocarbons we can find. Unapologetically, we produce everything. You drill everywhere, so we get it. Those that say we shouldn't produce energy, it shouldn't be lost on us that they use the most energy, that Heathrow Airport uses more electricity than the country of Sierra Leone, and you want to tell me not to produce energy. No, we are going to keep producing. Our continent's time is now. And sometimes when we say drill, baby, drill, it means something special to us. Because it's drill, baby, drill that increases human flourishing and get Europe and most of the wealthy nations to work. It is drill, baby, drill that got a lot of people in wealthy societies to industrialize. Right now, they're digitalizing themselves. I don't know what they're doing. But it is drill, baby, drill that's going to get us to continue providing roads, schools, infrastructure for Africans that don't have it. It is drill, baby, drill that's going to put on the lights in our hospital that when we get a pandemic or something, we can move. It is drill, baby, drill that is going to keep us from having that, keep us with energy security that we need. That's why when you see around Africa, we really don't listen to this fancy energy stuff because we know what it means to not have energy. We know what it means to keep us away from the energy we need. I urge you to keep moving. I urge you to keep driving. I urge you to believe in an Africa where a child in our continent can have the same opportunities like a child in Norway. I like Norway. They're like drill, baby, drill capital of Europe. Those that call us to say we should leave our energy in the ground. I would say we continue pushing. If they want to decarbonize, that's their problem. The wealthy nations should decarbonize while African nations industrialize. Thank you so much for coming to Cape Town. Thank you so much for being here. Let's keep driving energy. God bless you.
And that is the opening address from the from NJ Ayuk, his executive chairman of the Africa Energy Week, briefing us on what is to expect and projections, and such a great speech. We are live there. We'll be bringing you updates, not just on Breakfast Central, but in subsequent shows as well. So please stick around. We're going to break now. When we come back, we'll be bringing you the papers. And this is the point where you get to be a part of the show by calling the numbers on your TV screen or dropping your thoughts in our comment section on YouTube. Stay with us.
Hello, welcome back to Breakfast Central. It's time for us to look at what the newspaper front pages are saying. And this morning, we're joined by Mr. Theophilus Akatuba, a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
And quite a lot. Nigeria celebrates Independence Day tomorrow. We will be 65. I'm sure when the Union Jack came down on the 1st of October 1960, all three of us here on this set, we were in the spirit war.
I do know that Mr. Akatuba was not born then.
No, I was not born then.
Exactly. Are you sure?
Are you doubting it?
I don't know.
Does it look
I was born in 1970. 3 months after the Civil War, 10 years after.
10 years after.
And 3 months after, because I'm a peaceful person.
Yes.
I didn't
waited
come
for
out.
the war.
I waited.
Fantastic. Great to have you
very spot on word.
This morning. Let's start off with the Punch. It's still the same type of headline from yesterday. Dangote versus PENGASSAN. NLC mobilizes workers for strike against refinery. Labour places affiliates on alert as PENGASSAN shuts down NNPC, NUPRC, NMDPRA offices. But we're also hearing that the courts have told them to halt this strike. NNPC Dangote Refinery signed fresh 2-year crude deal. Nigeria 65, federal government cancels Independence Day parade that was scheduled for Eagle Square in Abuja. 2027. This is when this is what you call, attacking someone's thoughts. It hasn't even come to reality. You're attacking a hypothetical situation. Woeful records will haunt Jonathan, says presidency, in case he wants to contest for 2027. In advance, they've already told him that, look, don't even try it. Your record doesn't speak well. Church members avoid me over Muslim tickets, says the First Lady of Nigeria, Remi Tinubu. And court stops bank from releasing Osun local government allocations. Still on that, we also have Lagos guard faces trial for kidnapping employer's son. Wow. And tax reforms exempt food, education, and agri, says the Federal Inland Revenue Services. But let's start with the biggest one. NLC mobilizes workers for strike against Dangote Refinery. They said they're fighting for the rights of about 800 Nigerian workers that were laid off. But on the other side of it, we have over 200 million Nigerians. We have our economy at stake, and is this the best way to go about it? What do you make of the whole brouhaha?
Well, the PENGASSAN Dangote matter is a very sensitive issue. It's so sensitive that it's actually at the core of national security, the comfort, progress, and prosperity of our nation. And so what PENGASSAN is doing, I feel they are taking a great risk that may lead to the end of that union. Why am I saying this? Because they are fighting for the interest of their workers, which is their right to do. And these people, are they their members? If they are their members, if they are dismissed, what engagement have they done to ascertain the reason for the dismissal? Because going to the jugular and taking your ultimate decision and action can be called economic sabotage, because you are saying you are cutting crude from getting to the refinery. We must be careful as the world is watching this country. The world watches as the black people have liberated themselves in an area that is so important to the well-being of their economy. In fighting like this, shows to us, or show to the world, that we might be incapable of ruling ourselves. I see PENGASSAN fighting for 800 people. PENGASSAN must consider 250+ million Nigerians and the entire development that is taking place in the oil sector. This is not the time for this type of battles. If you have anything against Dangote, as they have, NUPENG has, the kind of money they collect from every tanker that loads petroleum.
Yeah.
What is all that for? You can see that the inefficiency of even the government system alone has even given rise to this type of behavior, because they should have seen it. That this organization are already infiltrated by the very people you call cabals. You think the cabals do not know how to play? They must look at how to checkmate Dangote and return the country to the old days of.
So you think it's
bondage.
Beyond the 800
Yes,
workers?
it's a big battle. Dangote, since the emergence of Dangote have been fighting global forces and local forces. The forces against Dangote are not Nigerians alone, including those that supply us petroleum, international refineries that were benefiting from the entire network.
It's taking food off their table.
So we are confronting a very interesting situation, and I can assure you there will be a massive reaction. And if PENGASSAN and New Peng do not tread cautiously, this might be the end of these unions, and new ones will emerge.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at the front page of 2027. Woeful record will haunt Jonathan, says presidencies. Professor Jerry Ganada came out to talk about the possibility of Goodluck Jonathan.
He said he will contest.
He said he will contest. Yet,
is he a blood relative of President Jonathan?
President Jonathan has not said anything.
I feel the presidency has moved too fast. In my opinion,
I agree with you.
I see it as a bit of a panic reaction, which is not necessary. Jonathan is not yet confirmed. The presidency should speak only when this candidate is confirmed.
Exactly. You're reacting to the idea of him.
I think it was. I also do not want to give it credit that it's the presidency. I would say a presidential spokesperson must have reacted, or one of his lieutenants, because Bayo Onanuga might not be the only one that is creating these messages. One of the many men created it, and he approved
maybe they want to show that they are very active and they can work.
But you can't overreact. Just like when you have overreaction of the human defense system, it can become sickness to itself. Okay. So for me, President Jonathan is being pressured to contest because, in my opinion, the presidency strategy in this election is not to have a formidable opposition. It's not to have them fractured. Because you see, it's easy to mobilize citizens against the government that is carrying out a reform. And especially when the reform has very adverse effect on the well-being of the people. So that's why no one did reforms. That's why many military governments did not try it. Because to reform Nigeria is at it's
a bitter pill to swallow.
To swallow, and could lead to the end of any government. Jonathan attempted this move. He removed subsidy January 1st of that year, 2013. And you know what happened? 2013.
Yeah, the current president was part of those who protested against it.
That is what I'm saying. The current president protested against the move, and Jonathan chickened out. But this president says, I will stay till the end of my own reform. Now he's going to face the citizens at the polls. So for him, the best strategy, maybe the strategy they think, is to make sure that everybody that is coming to challenge the president must be so weak before the election, must be so decimated before the election. And that strategy is what they are deploying. And for me, when it comes to the issue of Jonathan, they should have waited a little bit.
And in order to forestall their strategy and prevent it, that's why the opposition is also thinking of, form a sort of alliance and coalition. But how's that going?
Not a coalition. They are coming together, but they've not been able to come together well. There's too many discordant. You see, they should have been more formidable than I thought. They would not come out and be playing this game. I thought they would have resolved them and appear formidable. The division in their midst is very, 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 very... It's not something that is admirable if you really want to contest a formidable government.
Is it because of personal interest or just a uniform type of vision or strategy?
There's no uniformity of vision. They have not been able to even formalize themselves into saying this is what we want to do. Currently, they are struggling about who will take the ticket or who will be the candidate of this opposition.
And all these problems play to the advantage of the current
absolutely.
APC
this is what you want, because if you have a weak challenger, for example, I see that the presidency wants Peter Obi to be the challenger. The presidency doesn't want to risk an Atiku. An Atiku is even more dangerous.
So an Atiku is more dangerous than a Peter Obi?
Why would you say so?
Let me explain it to you. From my feelers that I get, the presidency will want Obi to be the candidate of a major opposition challenger, because in the South, that would be a done deal for the president. The president will just cap it up in the North.
Okay, let's hear from Mark. Mark is calling from Port Harcourt. Good morning, Mark.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, please go ahead.
Very well. I want to lend my voice to the issue of the strike action by PENGASSAN. I am in total concurrence with the view of your guest there this morning. You see, the irony of this whole thing is that PENGASSAN is claiming to be fighting for the welfare of their members in Dangote Refinery. But this is the same PENGASSAN who also have members in the moribund 4 refineries of the nation. And as we speak, these PENGASSAN members receive salaries and other things from these 4 moribund refineries. Under normal circumstances, these PENGASSAN members are supposed to be laid off from those 4 refineries. And if they are laid off, then the welfare of these PENGASSAN members will be affected. Their payments of their salaries will be affected. Why is PENGASSAN not interested in ensuring that the 4 moribund refineries of the nation are working so that the welfare of their members will be taken care of? Why are they not embarking on strike action? And just as your guest said, this strike action is touching on the economy, is touching on the security of this country, of the working of this country. So I don't know why PENGASSAN will be so insensitive over 800 people as against the rest 200 million people of the country. So this to me is very, very insensitive of PENGASSAN. Let the government do what they ought to do by ensuring that PENGASSAN reverses back from this line they are taking so that Dangote Refinery will be functional. The Dangote Refinery is the only industry, only action taken by an individual in this country to ensure that we have fuel, PMS, and other products, other petroleum products. Why is PENGASSAN coming to sabotage the effort of this man? I rest my case there.
Thank you very much for sharing.
Mark from River State. He does agree with you holistically on your take on PENGASSAN versus Dangote. Now, still on the front page of the Punch, NNPC Dangote signed fresh 2-year crude deal. Over the weekend, in this back and forth with PENGASSAN, they did announce that they were going to sell refined products in dollars, and they had to reverse that decision less than 24 hours. What's the implication of this new 2-year crude deal?
See, I find it sometimes irreconcilable why government officials, those who work in government, do not have empathy. They don't. A lot of them are so busy working around for their interest that such an agreement will expire before it's renewed. You should know that this agreement is going to expire and that you should not even allow any gap for us to hear that, oh, Dangote suspends sale of PMS, Naira sale of PMS. No, there's no need for that. You should know it's a 6-month agreement. It's a one. You should work. You see, we're getting there.
I mean, just the way you renew your cable subscription and everything, you don't wait till it expires.
Sometimes, for those who wait, you know for yourself that you are doing something, you will miss 1 or 2 days of enjoying the service. My worry is that we have the attitude in this country of either wanting to be known or to be so important that a document is someone's table, everyone else is praying, but the issue, what we should be doing, no one is doing it. But the place is busy with prayers. They have sessions of conversation about God and all of that. What you must do is to ensure that this crude for Naira agreement continue as long as necessary to help the economy to stabilize, as it has already. You see, the Naira, if Dangote start doing crude and dollar business, it will affect the foreign exchange.
There will be pressure on forex.
Yes. We have this thing within us. We must manage ourselves well to the admiration and to the shock of the West. They believe we cannot. They say even to our faces. They've told me to my face, everywhere I've traveled to. They wonder how we are still surviving because they have everything about us is so, so looked down upon. And that's because of the way those in government operate. That should not have happened.
Okay, let's still look at some other papers. Let's head now to the Nigerian Tribune, but we have another call from Abia, I believe. Uche is calling from Abia. Good morning, Uche.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Please go ahead.
Yeah. My contribution is that the government should, as quickly as possible, settle with Dangote and PENGASSAN as quickly as possible, so that we won't have a major problem. As they are settling, the problem, let them also look into Ebonyi State. As I'm talking to you now, I have about 4 or 5 tickets. One is being read. Nigeria Military Widows Association. They will give you a small paper, you pay 500 naira. I don't know whether military authority knows about this. Somebody somewhere starting his, domain and print a paper. Nigeria Military Widows Association. I don't understand. And some people have complained that things in the market are so costly. This is the problem. God bless you people.
Thank you very much, Uche.
Uche just raised a very important issue about this informal taxes that people collect. Even on the roads in Lagos, you see some people with funny ID cards collecting
funny
things. Funny uniforms. In markets, I had to even hawk in markets now, they cut tickets for them. How do we regulate this? Or is it part of the new tax policy?
What I see is that, Nigerians must learn to own their communities. Sometimes we are a bit too
laid back.
Yes, disinterested. In many societies, these issues are dealt with at those local levels. Because how come you allow people to just fleece you of taxes at will?
Stopping
their own choosing.
Dispatch riders.
Yes, and it's so common in Lagos State, for example.
Agberoism.
And these people appear to have the backing or the subtle approval of the state in which the state even talk about
and law enforcement.
Your vehicle will not break down. In a minute, someone will show up as the chief controller of the environment. And
I have fallen victim.
He will take advantage of you in the open glare. It sends a signal.
Zero empathy.
It sends a very bad signal of the safety and the quality of life of our people. I do international events. And when I do international events, Nigeria is not an attractive destination as of today. Everyone do not want to come to Nigeria for an event. And events are one of the big ways to market a nation. Dirty December is priding itself for having attracted a lot of visitors. But because of sex tourism, those in those industries can go to anywhere. So it's not as if because that
they are coming for a different reason. The nightlife.
There are many international conferences that people avoid Nigeria. I got consultants abroad in South Africa, in US, to market my events. The feedback is that Nigeria is not an attractive destination, but we can focus on other aspects of the event to bring people. And do you know what? They will register, they will pay, and they will not come to Nigeria even at the last minute. It is because how do you expect a foreigner who is traveling with me and we have a breakdown on the road, and instead of getting support to get us to safety, we get attacked for a vehicle breakdown that was not engineered. Extorted.
Yes.
And once you are extorted, it's regarded as part of the system.
Let's not even go too far. We took here in the papers, I think it was 2 weeks ago, of a young woman who was heading home from an event. Unfortunately, she had an accident on Third Mainland Bridge, fell into the water, into the lagoon. And by the time rescue services were there, do you know her family was asked to pay 300,000 naira to recover her body?
This is the system.
And it's not by the emergency services, it's by the local fishermen.
So
Zero empathy.
That's it.
We've lost our humanity.
If you don't have empathy and you don't have love, what you have is like a hell that you want to run away from.
Survival of the fittest.
Hell is about everyone doing something for their own benefit, and that's the hell.
Okay, let's take this call from Frank. Frank is calling from Cross River. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you frankly share your position?
Can we have a frank assessment of the newspaper?
Thank you very much. I'm very impressed from all the discussions you are making. Let me say something for the record purpose. You see, there are institutions that have been established by the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and those institutions are trying to extend their supervisory conditions more than even the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. For instance, what these institutions are doing now, they are trying to make the president look as if the president is not doing anything. For instance, President Tinubu is a very active, proactive president. What he has done so far, I don't think any president can have the courage and the boldness to do what he's doing. No president can have the courage and the boldness to do what he's doing. For instance, if you must reform Nigeria, Nigerians must also be angry when the reform is coming on. But for now, let me digress a little bit and go to this Dangote issue. NUPENG should not be able to control the affair of Nigeria. They were established by certain laws, and the laws are governing them. If government begin to find that they want to, because at the end of the day, the common man who is working on the street, the one that will bear the brunt and suffer. Because when once they start fighting, there's no fuel here, no fuel there. Everywhere is strangulated. The economy becomes bad. Prices of food will rise. And it keep rising, and Nigerians will be suffering. So if they, for me as a Nigerian, if they find out that these institutions are not a problem, they're frustrated. And so we can have a direction in this country. We can't be repeating the same status quo from the first year, 10 years, second year, the first, second republic. We are still having the same problem in Nigeria. We should face the reality. If government can intervene, government call both parties into a round table and discuss with them. Say, look, gentlemen, what you are doing is affecting Nigeria, and we are the ones suffering. But the way it's going now, if you look at the geometry now, if you look at economic geometry, you see that you saw that now, the way it's going now, our fuel will become 12 per liter, will be going to almost 2,000 per liter if we don't take time for what is going now. And we are almost entering the Christmas period. So my only input is that government should want to call the parties concerned into a round table and see how they can overrule most of those decisions they are taking for the betterment of Nigeria, for Nigerian people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I mean, like you said in your opening statement, that this borders on economic sabotage. Absolutely. And it has a national security dimension to it. So, I mean, PENGASSAN can be bigger than the government. So the government needs to be firm and assertive and take a definite stand.
And they should know that if an industry is changing, it's evolving, we have the PIA, we have all. PENGASSAN need to now apply a new way of doing business.
They need to change with the times.
They need to change with the time. You see the battle between Otedola and Ron Umaru. You see the revelations in because with these reforms coming, so much and so many people have lost their hold. They've lost their Nigerians. A lot of Nigerians elite
were rent seekers.
They were rent seekers, making money out of the chaos and the misery of the citizens. And the citizens do not know. The easiest person to fight was the government. Today, PENGASSAN is not fighting. It was easy then when Labour fight government. People were disenchanted with government anyway. So they naturally went with the Labour unions because they were seen to be fighting the government that they cannot fight. Today, PENGASSAN and NUPENG are fighting a private investor that has brought succor to the citizens. Indirectly, you are fighting the citizens.
All right, you wrap up on that thought process in a moment. Let's just go on a very quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're about to exit the studio, but we have Mr. Theophilus Akatuba here. So now land on the thought we're talking about this Dangote-PENGASSAN.
I was saying that PENGASSAN and NUPENG should know now to fight Dangote is to fight the citizens, because the activities of Dangote is to the huge benefit of the people of Nigeria, whose economy will improve. It also has the capacity to bring in investors, because this is the first major, one of the most iconic private investments that has such far-reaching impact and effect. So it's not time to those.
I mean, it's the largest single-train refinery in the world.
Those workers that have been displaced, you can have a better way to engage with Dangote. And finally, the presidency's reaction to Jonathan's intention or being asked or confirmed to, it was too hasty, and I think the presidency should wait to actually see the candidate of the opposition before they can.
Maybe it's indicative of fear.
Well, naturally, like I said, no government undertake reform like this government has done and will not be extra careful in order to win the next election.
You're right.
Mr. Katuba, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure.
All right, this is how we close the curtains here. We'll be back again tomorrow. For now, we will be heading out of the studio for Jasiri to take over. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again tomorrow. I am Olive, MOD.
And I'm Benga Bora. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.